Okay. Hi, everyone. I am with my friend Pari, and we are here to kind of continue with our money series that we've been doing. And today we're going to be talking about the success principle of what is it? Give more to get more,
Give
right?
more to get more.
Okay. So,
Exactly. Give
so
more to
what
get more.
exactly does give more to get more mean?
Yeah, I mean, we've heard this so many ways, right? The more you give, the more you receive. It's in the giving that you receive. Saint Francis of Assisi said that. So there is this thing about giving and receiving and a cycle. And actually, Webster's dictionary defines money as a medium of giving and receiving, of exchange. So money by nature is to be given and to be received. And if you're in that cycle, it's a very beautiful cycle. And if you continue to give, you continue to receive. And if there is a pause of that in that, or if there is a block in that, you feel it both ways. So,
Mm-hmm.
and on an energy level, that's what it is. You have to keep that cycle flowing in order, and everybody wants to receive more money and receive more abundance. And there is this feeling of, if I give, then I don't have enough. But actually, you only give when you are in this feeling of abundance. You can only give if you feel like you have,
Right.
right? You have something to give. And so when you do give, you come from the place of I have, and then being on that frequency of I have means more, you have more, more, or you get more of that feeling. You get more of that in return from the universe. So that's basically what this principle is saying. The more you give, the more you receive. Give more, you'll get more.
Okay. So, what would you say to the people who are like, that's crazy talk? I'm not gonna, if I give it away, I won't have it. They still think that, right? That's where they're at. So,
Yeah, and millionaires feel that way too, right? They don't have enough because they don't have the private jet yet, or they don't have enough because their private jet is not as big as their friend's private jet, right? And so there's no end to having enough. That feeling of having enough only comes when you can give. And so it's not about giving, it's whatever you can give. So it's not about giving this big amount of money. You can give $1 a day. You know, I would say 99% of the world can do that, right? Where you can give a small amount, but it's in that feeling. It's not so much the amount, but it's the vibration you come from, the frequency you come from when you give. Because as I was saying before, when you give, there's a feeling of I have. And if you're on the frequency of I have, you have more. You get more
mhm.
of that. So, um, so yeah, it sounds counterproductive, but actually it is the cycle of the universe. And most traditions actually have a sense, a teaching or a principle of giving. Most spiritual religions have that. It's in some organizations. I mean, in some religions, it's called tithing, right, where you give 10% of what you earn to your church, or your mosque or your temple. Um, there is a concept in India where I grew up. Uh, the first earnings of the day are given to God. So the very first, if you have a retail shop, the first money that you receive of the day is given to the altar, and then you receive the rest. So there is in every culture a tradition of giving, and I think it really stems from this principle of you have to be able to give to the source first before you can receive truly, or to
Mhm.
receive in a flowing way. Let's just say.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And in my church, I pay 10% tithes. So, and it's kind of this concept of, if you give it to God first, then He'll provide everything that you need, because
Right.
you're first
And
giving.
exactly. And usually you're tied from your gross income, from your
Hmm.
total income, before even the taxes are taken out, before anything else, before you spend it on anything else. On
Yeah,
that amount is what you give 10%, right? And that's
absolutely.
and that's the reason why you give back to the source first before you give it to anybody else, any other store, any other, grocery store or organization, God comes first. And whether or not you believe in God, it's also just giving to charities, giving to organizations that are doing good in this world, right? So it's the giving back to God, to the universe, to the planet, right? It's the idea of giving back.
Right. And it's a beautiful idea that I love. And
Mm.
so I want to ask you, what does that do to your mindset when you're giving back, when you're giving first like this? What does that do to your money mindset?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you from my own experience. I also tithe. I don't call it tithing, but I do actually. When I learned the concept of tithing, I loved it so much, and so I started using the 10%, which is the kind of the meaning behind tithing, 10%. And for everything I earn, we give back 10%, and we divide it up between our temple, as well as other organizations that are doing good, that charities that we are we like and we want to give towards. And what that does is, one, of course, you're being able to give to organizations that feed you, that give you,
Hmm. Yeah.
um, giving back to organizations that are doing good in this world, that for causes that you care about. So it makes you feel good, right? When you do these things, it makes you feel good. But what it also does is really, as I've said before, puts you in that space of I have, puts you in the space of I can give, puts you in the space of I have something to give. And the law of attraction basically gives you more of what you believe in, what you focus on. And so if you focus on I have, you focus on abundance, then more abundance comes your way.
Hmm.
So giving is, and of course we're talking right now about financial giving, but it's the stance of giving, right? So giving a compliment, giving advice, giving mentorship, um, giving your time, giving a hug. All of those givings bring you to the state of having and therefore receiving. So it's that beautiful cycle again.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that it also kind of gives you that feeling of I have something of value that I can give,
Mhm.
and that's kind of a barrier for some people if they're, doing a business or something like that, feeling like, oh, I don't have anything of value. So,
Mm.
so that is something of value, that because these charitable organizations, you can see how they use it or how they appreciate it, and then you can say, oh, I do have something of value that I can give, even if it's a small amount. So,
Right, because if you want to be able to feed the poor, if you just do it yourself, maybe you can feed two people 2 meals. But if you give towards an organization, you're part of the bigger picture of
mhm,
everything that they're able to do. So you kind of, um, whatever you give towards, you become part of, in a way,
yeah, yeah, that's
and
true.
what they stand for, you stand for. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. My church is a charitable organization. It's always
Mhm.
out in the world providing wheelchairs for the people who can't afford them but need them, or
Right.
food, or different services, different things that they need. They give billions. Like, it's a great charitable
Yeah.
organization, and I really feel like when I pay my tithe, I'm giving to that. I'm helping people get wheelchairs. I'm helping people get clean water to drink. I'm helping, people just get food to eat. Like, I feel like I'm helping with that. Like, I'm part of that because I'm contributing to it.
Yeah, and also, when you give to your spiritual organization, you're also receiving so much from, spiritual wealth,
Hmm.
um, peace of mind, um, teachings and practices that bring you in alignment with who you want to be and what you want to do in this world. So there's so much you're receiving that it brings out this feeling of wanting to give. It brings out gratitude. It brings out the feeling of gratitude. And so one way of expressing gratitude is giving part of your hard-earned money, right? Because it's, in a way, it's giving your efforts.
Yeah.
When you give part of your money. And of course, another way of giving is giving your efforts, actually volunteering or giving your time towards these organizations. That's another way of tithing, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
giving your time, giving your energy. And that's another great way of being in that cycle of giving and receiving. It's
Mm-hmm.
impossible to give and not receive. That's kind of like one of those universal principles. It's impossible to give to someone and not. It's in the giving that you're actually receiving, because
Mm-hmm.
you feel good. That's a receive, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so if you focus on it like that, then uh, you're giving and receiving not only the financial piece of it, but also the virtues of gratitude, of happiness, of joy.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard the story of Napoleon Hill, who's, one of the
Mhm.
great,
Mhm.
you know, just look him up if you haven't heard of him. So,
Right.
so it was at the time that he was really down and out. He was down on his luck. He was out of a job. He had kind of like his life had been threatened in some sort of drama. And so he was just kind of living in fear. And
Mm.
he felt the need to go to New York, and he had to borrow $50, which so it went a lot farther back then. So he
Right, right,
borrowed
right,
this
right.
money, and he used most of it to get an expensive suite at this hotel. And so he paid for like 2 weeks of an expensive suite with like $45 or something like that.
Right.
So that's how it used to be back in the early 1900s. But he said he was treated so well. Like he said he was treated like a prince. Like he got there and he
Mm.
was in the suite. So let me, like he just was treated in a way that made him feel like he was rich. And
Mhm.
I think that that's what contributing can do for you, is to make you feel like you're rich, because that started to turn some things for him. It started to help him start to feel like, oh, I can do this. I can be with money. I can, have money. Like, and I think he landed a deal while he was in New York to start a new venture. So and I think that confidence had a lot to do with it. So we can get that from giving, and it's a beautiful
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I remember the story, and I think it's coming from the place of acting as if. So if you come from a place of already having, um, and acting like you already have $1 billion in the bank, what would you do then? How would you act? How would you present yourself?
Hmm.
You attract that life into being. And I think what you're saying is so true. When you give, you come from a place of, I have something to give. I can spare this. And so
Hmm.
that comes from a place of, it's an abundant stance, right? Because you can give it out. And so then, even on a, if you don't look at this at a spiritual level at all, just the act of saying I have enough to give puts you on a vibrancy or a frequency of having more, and
Hmm.
then you attract more.
Yeah.
So you kind of get onto that, the law of attraction. It's like the best guarantee of prosperity is to give what you have, what you're able to give, um, and see that return multiple folds back into your life.
Hmm. So
And that's
if
definitely been my experience. Go ahead. Sorry. Yes.
yeah, no, you go ahead and finish up what you're saying.
No, I was just saying, that's been my experience, because I've noticed how, when I first started offering these workshops, I would say, okay, so whatever I've earned this month, 10% I'm giving. And then, it became a practice of doing that every 6 weeks or so. And I noticed how every 6 weeks, the amount I was giving was more. And obviously that meant that the amount I was receiving was more, because I was giving
Yeah.
10% of whatever
Right.
it was. And so it's been my own experience of just saying, wait a second here, as I'm consciously giving a 10% of, I'm actually seeing that amount growing. Um, And it's been a really eye-opening way of looking, and of course also feeling gratitude.
That's great. I love that. Gratitude has been proven scientifically to make you feel happier. You can't feel angry or upset when you're feeling gratitude. They can't exist at the same time. So it
Exactly.
really is it's a powerful thing. So
Yeah, and a lot of people, that there's like this block that people have of not giving because they feel they don't have enough, right? And they're kind of they come from they want to increase their income, and so they say we have to keep hoarding, or receiving, just getting, or coming from like a get mindset. How
mhm,
else can I
mhm,
get?
yeah,
um and and if you're focused on what you can get, you will get. But when you focus on giving, you will actually get on a much higher level or much bigger multiple, if you want to call it that, because you give to live. You come from a place of giving because that's who you are, and therefore you receive because that's just how you attract.
exactly. I love that. Sounds like I'm echoing. That's I don't know how to fix that.
What's that?
It sounds like I'm echoing. Are you hearing that?
I'm not. Oh, are you?
Okay, that's good. So how would you suggest if somebody has never really given before, how would you suggest they start?
Small. Test it out, right? I mean, you can do 1%, you know,
Yeah.
or a set amount that you feel that you can comfortably give. I always say, when I say this for savings, it's the same feeling of like I don't have enough to save, and so I always say break it down, and break it down by week, instead of thinking of how much I want to save in a year or how much I want to save in a month. If you say I'm going to save $25 a week, that sounds much more doable than $100 a month.
Hmm.
Or as you had mentioned in the last interview, you can break it down by day. And so if you just break it down to a smaller time frame, it allows for you to be feeling like that's doable. I can do that. There's a great energy, great power, if you do have a place of worship or an altar in your house, where you actually do the physical amount of giving, like giving that amount of money, or giving it in a tangible form. um, that is also a really great practice in um, participating in the giving. And again, that just puts you on that cycle of receiving. I had a client who had taken the money mindset workshop with me, um, and had learned this concept, and the next day the Girl Scouts came to his home, and they wanted to sell these cookies, and he and his parents don't eat sugar so much, and so his first instinct was to say, no, sorry, I don't need the cookies. And then he realized it's not about the cookies, it's about these teenage girls who are wanting to do good. And so he said, but you know what, I'm just going to give you the money anyways, like take the $10, and I don't need the cookies, but you can keep them. And
Hmm.
so he just kind of gave towards their cause. And he said, just felt so good to just give, and not feel like I have to receive something in exchange. And he said the next day he went to the mailbox to get all of his mail, and there was a rebate that he received from, I think it was like an insurance or something, that he was totally not expecting. And it was $20. And it was the double the amount that he had given. And he was just
Yeah.
like, look at that.
Yeah, yeah, and it doesn't always happen like that, but that is a cool story. You always do get that good feeling of, I'm doing something good here. And that
Yeah.
that positive money mindset of I have something of value and I can give that. I can help somebody with this. So,
Nice. And that really uh, brings me to another point. You're not giving to get. You're not giving in order so that you can get. So it's not like I'm not giving these $10 so I can get a rebate
right,
check for
right.
20. It's not like that. it's you're giving because you have so much already. You're feeling so much gratitude. You're feeling like
Mhm.
you are in a place of gratitude and abundance, and you give from that place. And when you're on that frequency, so not in the get frequency, but on the frequency of I have so much to give, that's when you attract receiving.
Yeah,
So thank you for pointing that out, because that's a big distinction
right.
in
And
the
I
way you
love
use
how you said
this
that.
principle. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think in our first interview, I kind of gave this example, and I always think of it like this. When you're like this, you can't
Mhm.
receive anything when you're grasping onto everything you can get, but when you're giving, that's when your hand is like ready to receive, right? So it's like it's
I
totally
love
a
that.
thing.
One of my
So
favorite moments from that interview.
good. Good. Well, and I just think it's that way, about money, about, you know, your, I mean, you were talking about the vibrations and the frequency, and that's like a physical representation of all of that. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
this has been a great interview. I always love to talk to you, and I think it's an
Likewise.
important point to to try to give more to get more. So I encourage you all to, if you have any questions, first of all, to pop them into the comments. We'll be happy to answer those for you, and you can also, I just challenge you to find a place like your church to either tithe with your church, or to find a charitable organization that's giving in a way that you would like to honor, and that you can contribute to, and that you will feel that kind of powerful feeling of, I have something to give, I can do this, I can help people, and I you give first, and then you'll be ready to receive. So I challenge you to start
Exactly.
doing that. So
It's
thank
a
you,
perfect
Part.
way to end this conversation. Thank you for wrapping it up like
Yes.
that.
Oh, thank you for being here today and for sharing your wisdom as always. And you can look up Pari. She'll be in the comments, so you'll be able to click on her name, and you can go straight to her page and learn more about her financial, um, you know, whatever you call it, your seminar, or I'm
The
not sure,
workshops again. Yes,
the
thank you.
workshops that you do. So you can
Yeah.
learn more about that, and you can reach out for, I'll do a free coaching session for you, so you can reach out to me that way, and we're both here to answer your questions. So thank you for joining us today, and we will talk to you guys next time.